Welcome to the first lesson in chemistry. While chemistry is a science course, there is a ton of math in it. And I think one of the first concepts you need to grasp for chemistry is unit conversions. And this is whether you're in the 1127, 1124, 1122 class. All of them use a lot of unit conversions. And also stoichiometry, which is just unit conversions with rates and ratios. So I'll start with unit conversions. And a simple question could be, how many days are in 2 weeks? Simple question. And probably you go, hey, there's 7 days in 1 week. So obviously there must be 14 days in 2 weeks. And you'd be correct. And I just want to show you the methods we use to determine that. And hopefully you can use these methods on more complicated chemical questions. So the first principle, I'm going to change colors real quick. The first principle we talk about in unit conversions is the fact that any number, let's say a, times 1 is equal to itself, right? That's pretty obvious. And number 2, that 1 is also equal to a ratio of two things that are equal to themselves. So let's say x and x. X over x is equal to 1, no matter what x is. So let's say x is 3, right? 3 over 3 is 1. Let's say it's 1,000. 1,000 over 1,000 is still 1, which means a times, let's say, x over x is still a. Agree? Now, what if I put two things that were equal to one another? Let's say x is equal to y, right? In that case, x over y is still equal to 1. So a times x over y is still equal to a. That's the basic principle we'll be using for unit conversions. So back to our example we had at hand. I'm just going to walk you through it, and it might seem really obvious, but I want to show you the steps and the logic I'm using to get to the answer. And these same steps can be used for much more complicated chemical questions, right? So I want to start out by writing down what I know. And instead of using any rates, I want to use what they give me. So they tell me that I'm dealing with 2 weeks, right? Oh my God, horrible handwriting. And I want to somehow convert this in units of days. I'm just going to write that down, days. I don't know how many days, but I want to write down my answer to see where I'm going with this. I'm turning weeks, I'm going to convert it ultimately into days. Now, I want to deal with what equations I have. So what do I know? I know that 1 week is equal to 7 days. Now, just like I had in my x and y example, I can write this as a ratio, right? I can write 1 week over 7 days, or I can write 7 days over 1 week. These are both equal to 1, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 2 weeks essentially times 1. So I can get back the same value. The issue is that multiplying by 1 is not going to help me in this case because I'm not going to get rid of any units. So technical difficulties, I need to multiply with something to get me different units. I want to get rid of these weeks. I want to somehow convert these weeks into days. So I'm going to multiply a fraction, one of these, and the important thing is I want to get rid of units. So I have weeks on top, and just a multiplication, right? If you have something on top and you want to get rid of it, you put it on the bottom, right? Because when I multiply out, things are going to cross out. So I know I want to get rid of weeks, so I'm going to put weeks on the bottom like this, right? Now I'm going to find a ratio that has weeks on the bottom, which essentially is this one. I'm going to use this ratio right up here. So that means 1 week is also equal to 7 days. Now this might not look like 1, right? Because these are completely two different units. However, their values are the same. So while I might get a different number, it's overall the same value. Now, as I multiply this out, when I multiply, things on top cancel out things on the bottom. So this week, or to better visualize, by the way, I can call this 2 weeks over 1. Anything that's not a fraction, call over 1 and make it a fraction, right? The weeks right here, let me change colors, are going to cancel out with the weeks down here, right? So what I'm left with is, and the ones obviously don't do anything, I'm left with 2 times 7, and what units do I have left? Days, right? And what's 2 times 7? 14. 14 days. Now obviously you said J, that was an incredibly complicated step to get here. Yes, but this is just an example to show you what we're doing when we're converting units. And just to demonstrate what I meant by putting units on the bottom, had I not used this, right, and I used this one, what would the answer have looked like? I'll show you. So if I said 2 weeks times, and I used this one here, which is 1 week over 7 days. Now still, this is still 1, right? So when I multiply, it's still going to equal the same value. But what happens is I have none of my units cancel out, right? I have weeks, both my weeks are on top, and I have nothing on the bottom, and days. So what I'll have is, what's 2 times 1? 2. 2 weeks times weeks over 7 days. This is definitely not the answer I want. This up here is 14 days makes sense. These are really weird units, and that's not what we want to do, right? So what essentially unit conversion is I want to find things on the bottom to match what I have on top. And I'm always going to be multiplying by things that are equal to one another, right? 7 days, 1 week, they're equal to one another. So I get the same value. If I go to something more complicated, let's say I want to find out hours in 3 weeks. Right, now I'm going to use multiple steps to convert. Same thing, I'm going to start out with my 3 weeks. So I'm going to write down here 3 weeks. And I'm going to write down what I want. I want to get this into hours. So I'm going to put this all the way at the end, hours. So I know what I'm aiming towards. Now, there probably is an equation. You can probably find out weeks in hours, right? So 1 week over blank hours. But that's not common knowledge, right? So we're not going to use that. Instead, we're going to use what we do know. So first off, I want to think about what kind of conversion I want. It has to do with weeks, right? So what do I know is in weeks? Days. So I'll use the same thing. 1 week is equal to 7 days. That's the conversion I'm going to use. I know I want to get rid of weeks, so same thing. I'm going to put weeks on the bottom, right? That makes sense. So if I use weeks on the bottom, what has to go on top? 7 days. 7 days, 1 week. Exactly what we did last time. Now, if I multiply it out right now, yes, my weeks would cancel out. And that would give me 3 times 7 over 1 days. However, the reason I wrote this down over here is because I know what my answer has to be. It has to be hours. I'm not at my answers yet, because if I multiplied right here, I would just get days. So what I need to do is I need to keep going. I need to keep converting this unit until I get hours, right? So obviously, I want another unit based off days. What do I know about days? I know that 1 day is equal to what? 24 hours, right? Now, same thing, where do I put this? Do I put days on top or days on the bottom? Well, let's think. I don't want my answer to be in days. I need it to be in hours. So somehow I need to cancel out this unit of days. How do I cancel something out? If it's on top, I put it on the bottom. So I put days right here. And obviously if I put it like this, then it has to be 1 day down here and 24 hours on top. Now what happens? the days cancel out too. See? So now if I multiply on top, I have 3 times 7 times 24. So I get 3 times 7 times 24. And the only thing left is hours. Hours over 1 times 1, and no units because they both got crossed out. So 1. And this equals, if I put it into my calculator, okay, unlock the phone because my calculator's not ready. Let's see, 21, which is 3 times 7, times 24 is equal to 502. 502 hours. That is my answer. Now you see, this is a step up from what we did previously because I had 2 layers. I had 2 conversions to get to where I needed to be. And in chemistry, you'll sometimes do 3, 4, 5, even 6 conversions of different units. And we're going to go along. This is just an introductory video to get you started. And I'll probably make a part 2 of this showing you much more difficult rates and how we convert rates. All right? Thank you.